Welcome back to the forecast. It is on. Hey, what's happening? Welcome back to the forecast. This is your host, JG Lockhart, here for a Hump Day edition of the forecast. Glad you could be here. Many thanks to the higher power for allowing me to be here. Many thanks to your higher power, our higher power, for allowing you to be here. So, coming up on today's show, let me go ahead and take this out. Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk a little bit about, are you a why or why not person? Yeah. Or a little bit of both, as most of us are. But are you a why or why not person? Also, it is that time of the year. It is cuffing season. So we're going to talk a little bit about cuffing season on the show today. Cuffing, as we all know it, to get to this point in time of the year. So let me go ahead and take this out. So anyway, hope you're doing well. Glad you could join us. So how's it going with whatever you did yesterday? You know, we talk a little bit about practicing, who you want to be every day, and every day that we live, who we practiced the day before, then we're a little bit further along. Now, I know for me, practicing that, sometimes you run into these obstacles where, you just don't feel like practicing being. Like, you just don't want, you like the urge and desire and all that is just, it's a struggle, and me, myself, I have to get on my knees and I have to pray and ask for, courage and whatnot. And then, too, it still doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Now, I'm deeply spiritual. I love the Lord, and I do believe in my God, my higher power. But one thing I learned is that when things are difficult, we talk ourselves out of the things that we're capable of doing. I give a perfect example. Wow, maybe I shouldn't share this one, but I don't know how to not. So I'm in this relationship, right, with this woman, and beautiful, beautiful relationship, all this and everything. And there were problems, like in all relationships. And I knew what was a problem. I said there were problems, but I knew what one problem was. And even though I knew what the problem was, I didn't act like it. And I kept acting like I didn't know. So anyway, one day out of frustration, now I know all this at the end. So, I didn't know all this at the beginning. So one day I had to get on my knees because Lord, and no sooner than I had got down, I heard the Spirit well, you already know what the problem is. You smart enough to figure that out. And immediately I was like, oh, yeah, I do. And it was like, aren't you Mr. Big Shoulders, carry all the water and the weight, and this is the Spirit talking. And I'm sitting there like, okay, I'm feeling like the little Gazoo on Fred Flintstone, little Gazoo when he made Fred little, so I get it. It's hard. It is hard when you're trying to practice being who you want to be, especially on those days when it's hard too. And, I just encourage you to continue to have faith in yourself and the higher power that lives inside you and push through. Push through, because this minute is not going to be here in the next minute, and this hour is not going to be here the next hour. You remember, today is all we got. So, I encourage you to push through, and then if we get the blessing of tomorrow, then hey, look out. We done something today. So anyway, I just wanted to check in with you and, see how that's going and whatnot, and encourage you. I want to be encouraging. That's one of the whole thoughts and ideas of this podcast. We want to help each other because that's what we all here to do. All right. Some local news, picking back off of yesterday's show, All Things Charlotte. So we hear Border and Customs Patrol are planning to come and hit our streets. And if you don't know what Borders and Customs Control is, then let me ask you this. Are you familiar with ICE? Yeah. Immigration, Customs Enforcement or something like that. But anyway, they are similar to ICE, and apparently they are coming to Charlotte to conduct operations. I guess that's what you would call it. And but they're doing this without um, working with ICE. They're not working with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So, why do we need a excuse me, my bad. Why do we need an Immigration and Customs Enforcement federal agency and a Border and Customs Patrol? Why can't those be combined and one does the same thing the other ones do? It doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, they're going to be here, and I like the idea that some of our leaders, kind of have stood together, including Dimple Dimple, keep it simple, vote for Dimple. Councilwoman Dimple, and new councilman J.D. Missouri, who we interviewed here a few episodes back. So they got together with other city leaders, and they put out this written statement saying how, we basically don't want that here. Our foreign population or our immigrant population, they're contributors to society and blah, blah, blah. So I thought that took real courage for them to put that out, as, of course, politicians would. But you did not see all of the council people on that, and who knows why, And here's just another thing. Now, this is when we talk about voting and your representatives. If you're wondering where your council person stands on border patrol, border and customs patrol coming in, ICE coming in, send them an email. Write them an email, call them on the phone, and ask them to get back with you. And then if they don't, follow it up with the letter. Get your stamp, follow it up with the letter, and send it in. And if you don't get a response from an email or a written response, now I know this requires time, y'all. This is not instant gratification. This is an instant gratification society, but a lot of things you don't get instant gratification. You have to go through the process. But the process of holding our leaders accountable are making it known that you have an opinion and that you are watching. So send them an email. Hey, what's your stance? Short email. So what's your stance on immigration and customs patrol coming into the city, and see what type of response you get. And then, if you want to, ask them why didn't they join in on the written statement. All of their email addresses are on their website. City Council, Charlotte City Council has their own website with the pictures. And same thing with your Mecklenburg County Board of County Commissioners. They have websites with their pictures on it. All you have to do is goggle it, And if you aren't sure who your representative is, then go to the Mecklenburg County Board of Elections website, and they have a box at the bottom that says look up your district by address. You punch in your address, it'll give you every single representative. It will give you all the district representatives that you are in, not their names. It'll say you're in City Council District 2, Mecklenburg County Commissioner District 1, School Board District that, School Board District that. And then it'll talk about your House of Representatives, and all you have to do is just go to their website, and you already know who your district is. But this is stuff that it doesn't take 5 minutes to do. You just bam, click, bam, and once you know who your council person is, you'll know. I know who mine is, Dante Anderson. I'm going to put that out there because I sent her an email and didn't get a response back. Now, I did not follow it up with the letter, but now that I'm telling you, I am going to do that, and I'm going to put it in the mail. And you can see me. I will put it on Instagram and show you that I will actually mail this letter as a follow-up. But anyway, my whole thing is, this is one way to hold our leaders accountable, when situations are happening in the city, in our neighborhoods, and you want to know where do they stand, how are they going to act. But this is how you contact them, Now, if you got their phone number, of course, you can blow them up. So anyway, yeah, it's not the best news to hear they're dropping into town, immigrations and custom and ICE. So what else is going on? I heard Diddy, Puff Daddy, was getting drunk in Jersey, in prison. I ain't mad at him. You know what I'm saying? They say he was getting drunk off some old Fanta soda and fermented fruit. Oh my gosh, hooch. You know, that's what they call liquor that they make in prison. Hooch. Now, I've never been to prison, but I mean, you have got to have fallen off a log if you've never heard of hooch. But yeah, so Diddy was in the news, for drinking hooch. And also your girl, Giselle, who was helping Jeffrey Epstein sexually traffic young girls and whatnot. They say she's been getting favorable treatment in her minimum security plush prison. They said that she was on point to receive some conjugal visits. No, I'm not sure about that one. It might have been something else. But anyway, they did say that, as a matter of fact, one of the senators from another, or representatives from another state, sent an email to the Judicial Department and was asking about, the favoritism. And, just speaking about that, have you seen all the people that Trump has been pardoning lately? Pardoning. You know what? I can't even talk today. I'm going to blame it on the stroke on this one. Yeah, but Trump has been pardoning all these criminals. You heard he pardoned Rudy Giuliani. This is the guy who, was talking, overturned the election. Guys, have we forgotten about that? Have we forgotten how many people that the first thing he did he pardoned those 1,500 people that stormed the Capitol? Like, are we living in an alternate reality? Isn't that enough to, impeach this guy, vote him out for us to storm the White House itself? Like, isn't that enough? Like, this guy is actually calling for violence, hanging his own vice president because he wouldn't play ball. Have we forgotten about that? Let's not even talk about the last 11 months, the last 10 months, because that happened in January. Everything else. I mean, listen, man, if you don't vote and you don't get somebody else that hasn't voted to vote, then you're part of the problem, and I'm gonna keep saying that. But the things that this guy's done. Can you imagine Barack Obama when he was president? If he did half the shit this guy did, I mean, if Michelle Obama was a pin-up girl, can you imagine the shit that they would talk about Michelle Obama? We got a president who has Lord have mercy. Okay. All right. Yes. A pin-up girl. I was trying to find her. We could actually see the president's wife naked, because she was a nude model, and she's from another country, another immigrant. I'm telling y'all, this is the movie Salt playing itself. Donald Trump is an implant. All right. He is trying to tear this country down from the inside out. Look who his best friends are. This guy from South Africa. Okay. The richest guy in the world. And listen, that's why we're going to talk about the why and why not, But anyway, this guy's pardoned Rudy Giuliani, lately. Rudy was sued because he was trying to lie on those election workers, and they sued his ass, thank God. And he had to pay up. He had to sell a lot of stuff, so he was in a lot of financial trouble. And now here comes his boy pardoning him. I mean, this corruption. I mean, and when you see somebody who's a Trump supporter, and for me, I don't want to start anything. I'm a 6'6" black man, I have this voice, that bellows down sometimes. But, I go up to somebody and I ask them, it's already something. But when you see somebody that's pushing Trump or has their bumper stickers or whatever, and especially these people that are now putting Trump 2028, that you have to ask yourself, and this is part of our conversation, why is this person purporting Donald Trump, being president in 2028 because that would be illegal. That's unconstitutional. So what type of individual are you? Are you the type of individuals that's willing to break the Constitution? Because the president can serve no longer than 2 terms. If that were not the case, Barack Obama would still be president, right? Right. So anyway, moving along. Don't want to start the show about that. So anyway, we talked about that, and federal shutdown continues, of course. These guys can't seem to get it together to pass the federal budget, so, of course, everybody's suffering. I don't know about the SNAP benefits. Hadn't checked on that. Also, hey, if you do know anything about the SNAP benefits, and call me and let me know, 704-759-6640. That is our new voice line. So if you don't like anything I say, or you do like, call me and leave me a voicemail, 704-759-6640. Follow us on Facebook, forecast at JG Lockhart, JG Lockhart, YouTube, Twitter. I'm beginning to hear more chatter that I need to say that more, So listen, I want you to follow me. It's like a vote, okay? People don't realize this. People say, I don't vote. Yes, you do. If you're following somebody or you're sharing, you're voting. You're saying, I like this, I'm for this, you should too. That's basically what you're doing. So for those people who swear they don't vote, but they're on Instagram and TikTok and all, if you're sharing and following, you vote. Now, that's it. Now, there's another way to vote that we're going to keep harping on because there's another election next year. But anyway, follow me, like me, and all that. The voicemail number is 704-759-6640. And I think that's it. Oh, yeah. What is going on with LaMelo Ball? Like, it's about, 4 years now? And LaMelo can't seem to... He's got just bad wheels. Is that what it is? He's just got bad wheels. His wheels are bad. And I know somebody else with bad wheels. I wonder if she's listening. Matter of fact, she comes from a family with bad wheels. Let me stop. Okay. But, LaMelo can't stay on the court. LaMelo, man, we need you. We need you. I get it. He might just have small ankles and the rigors of the hard court on the professional basketball. When he's going, the guy is great. This young man is awesome, but he can't seem to stay in the court. Your best ability in professional sports is your what? Availability. That's all I can tell you, but we love the Hornets. Don't you just miss the excitement that the Hornets used to bring? I thought it was kind of coming back a little bit. They started off the season 2-0. And now they're 2-5, but hey, it's a long season. So I'm hoping. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. I do not own the rights to any of this music. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Fordcast with JG. All right, we're back here at the Fordcast with your host, J.G. Lockhart, and I do not own the rights to Shining Star by Earth, Wind, and Fire, but I like it anyway. All right, so welcome back to the show. Let's talk a little bit about why, or why not. To me, you are either a why or why not person. And I was thinking about this today in the shower. I was like, you know what? I think I want to talk about that. So in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, you're either a why or why not person, or a combination of both. Like me, I'm a why person. I always want to know why something is, from a kid, like I wanted to know why I had to do certain things or my sister didn't have to do certain things, or why this or why that. And I don't know. It might have come from my mother, who told me to question everything, or someone very early in my life, and I can't remember who it was. It was either a nun at my private school, Our Lady. Shouts out to Our Lady Consolation. It was my nun at Our Lady Consolation, or my mother. I don't know. I'll give them both credit. They both were great. But they always told me to question why, and I just kind of grew up, wanting to know the answers why. I remember my father used to talk about how book sense was everything. He was like, book sense is everything. My father had this deep, deep voice that I can't even begin. Let me see, Giovanni, yeah, something like that. But he would always say, book sense ain't everything. You need some common sense. And I go looking for this common sense. Like, where can I find this common sense at? Like I had to know why I didn't have this common sense. I'm serious. So I've always been a why person. And, of course, sometimes I'm a why not person. Like maybe I'm in line and whatnot somewhere, and somebody tells me, come get up here and, bypass everybody else. I'm why not? Or you're in traffic and the lane says get over, and everybody's starting to get over, but it clearly is about 1,000 or 1,500 feet before the lane ends. I'm like a why not person. I'm going straight down that lane. So are you a why or why not person? Call me and let me know. Leave me a voicemail, 704-759-6640. That's the voicemail. That's our new thing. And if you do leave me a voicemail, I promise not to leave your personal info like your name or whatever. I just don't want to do that. I want people to be free and open and honest. I might even just completely, even if you do give me your real name, I might just probably give you a completely different name. That part, we don't want to cause anybody problems. But that question, why or are you a why or why not person, it really comes into play about like how we go about our day and the things that we do, the decisions that we make. Like, for example, the biggest thing happening right now is this political atmosphere, with these terrorists, with these wars happening, with, the military in our cities. Like, this is all political, the climate. And if you're a why person, then you have to wonder, why is all this happening, right? Like, why is Immigration and Customs Border Patrol coming to Charlotte? Why can't the congressmen get it together to open up the government? You can be a why person, or you could be a why not person. Oh, well, that's it. They doing what they gonna do. I can't do nothing. No, I ain't gonna say that. But there are a lot of people that feel as though they can't do anything about it. We can't do nothing. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? I tell you what you do. Your power is your voice. I've told you that plenty of times, but if you're a why not person, then, and you want to know, if you're really not a why not person and you think you want to know, are you willing to take steps to know? You know what I'm saying? To find out why. Like, for example, I remember, someone very close to me, I reminded them that it was time to vote. And they said to me, well, do I have to vote? They said, do I have to? And I was like, well, no, you don't. No, you don't. It was a simple answer, And for me, I wondered why this individual felt as though they considered whether or not voting was an option. Why anyone would think voting is an option. I would, and you hear the reasons why, but, again, some people, you remind them, oh, it's time to vote. Oh, yeah, okay, why not? And sometimes when you're a why not, it's because you already know the why behind it. Does that make sense? I don't want to be confusing, like, for example. So coming up, I was I'm not going to say I was the baddest kid on the block, because we had some bad kids on the block, but I got in trouble. I did things that little boys did, and even when you knew that it was the wrong thing to do, you still had the why not, and like we would throw, some of us would throw snowballs at cars when it snowed back growing up, and other kids would put rocks in the snowballs. I never did that. I never, ever did that. But some kids would put rocks. Now, look, that's not even half as bad as kids that are actually throwing rocks and bricks at cars these days off of bridges. Remember that happened a few years back, and I'm pretty sure it still happens everywhere. Kids can be bad, even when they know better. And I knew better. Now, thinking about that now, even throwing a snowball at a car, because we just wanted to hit a car and maybe, scare the shit out of them. We didn't realize that if we did that and they lost control, they could wreck and we could actually injure somebody. So we really didn't fully understand that, but we did it. It was one of those, why not? When you're young and growing up, you got energy to burn, especially little boys. Well, we did coming up. We didn't spend a lot of time inside. We always wanted to get outside. We didn't have cell phones or computers or tablets. Some of us did, a couple of people. I remember the Texas Instruments, all that. But even so, we love to be outside. And so, when you're outside, you're burning off this energy and, sometimes you just do things that you sometimes you just, oh my gosh, sometimes you do things that you're just not supposed to do. And it's kind of those why not. So I guess we could be both, but I lean more heavily to the why. And even doing those things, it was like, why? So I could have fun. It would thrill me, to hit a car with a snowball. And then especially if they slowed down, we knew we could run and they couldn't catch us, Anyway, so are you a why or why not person? It can filter down to everything, like raising kids, like when you're faced with difficult choices, it's a why or why not. Should you discipline? Why? Why should you discipline? Should you correct bad behavior? Why? Why should you correct bad behavior? I mean, because the other side of that is why not? Why wouldn't you correct bad behavior? Why wouldn't you discipline? Why wouldn't you spend time with the kid? Why wouldn't you attend parent-teacher conferences? Why wouldn't you check in with the school? Why wouldn't you speak up for the kid that the adult is not doing things, especially when you see that kid hurting? Why not? Why wouldn't you do those things? So, being a why or why not person, it's wow, it's a choice. It's a daily choice that we make. I mean, we have about 800 decisions that we have to make every day. I average them out. There's about 800 choices that we have to make. And if we can begin to get more than half of those right per day, then, man, we are on it. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit about cuffing. And you know what? That is wrong. That is so wrong. That was Aretha Franklin gospel coming up, y'all. So anyway, we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to the Forecast with J.G. Lockhart. We'll be right back. And, oh yeah, I do not own the rights to Aretha or Lauryn Hill. Okay? We'll be right back.
Sweet, sweet.
All right, we're back here at the Forecast with your host, J.G. Lockhart. Welcome back. All right, right before we went to break, we were talking a little bit about cuffing season. Let me go ahead and take this out. Of course, I don't own the rights to Barry White, of course. So it is that time, cuffing season, cuffing. Now, if you don't know what cuffing is, and I don't know how you don't know what cuffing is, I wonder if anybody knows where that came from, But anyway, if you don't know what cuffing season is the season when it's like start getting cold, and if you're single, you're kind of looking for somebody to cuddle up with. So, I don't know. I think I saw something on the internet where it was the idea of like being handcuffed to somebody. I don't know. But we should be cuddling season. That's what we call it, cuddling season. So cuffing, cuddling, whatever. But it's that time. It is that time because, it gets cold out there. You don't want to be lonely. And then you start going through the months, the holiday seasons. You don't want to, if you're single, and then some cases, some married people too. I don't know how married people navigate that. I have known married people who have navigated that, and some of them have done quite well. I don't know how you can cope with somebody you're married and you have a family on a holiday, but hey, I guess what works for some couples, married couples, works. But so anyway, if you're single out there and you're looking for somebody to cuff with, what are some of the things that you want in a cuff buddy? A or as we sometimes call them, cut buddies, But usually, it kind of revolves around, sex. Okay, of course. But I think most part, the biggest thing about cuffing season is you just don't want to be alone. It's not always about, just doing it, having intercourse, having sexual relations. You just want somebody to spend some time with, on those cold nights. I know it was cold last night. Oh, my gosh. And I know I was thinking, oh, man, I'm single myself, so. and I'm not looking to cuff. I am not looking to cuff. I swear I need a break from everything, But last night I was like, no. It would be nice to have somebody. And it seems like the rooms are even emptier when it's cold. You know what I mean? You ever thought about that? The room seems more empty when it's colder. I don't know. Maybe that's psychological. There's a lot of psychology in a whole bunch of things that we do. But, so I don't know. I guess what are some of the good things to look for in a cuff buddy or a cutting buddy? You want somebody that's going to go home, first of all. Like, they got to be able to go home. Like, we can't cuff forever. And look, what about, do you understand that this is an agreement between two people that we're going to cuff during these months, and then come springtime, we done, right? Like are there rules to cuffing? I don't know. Call me, let me know. Leave me a voice message, and I'll talk about your comments on the air. I'm cracking myself up here because I am dead serious. 704-759-6640 is our Fordcast voice line where you can leave a message. You don't have to leave your name or anything, but just give me your thoughts on what it means to you for cuffing season. Married people don't have to worry about that. They got somebody, and I bet though if the marriage is not working well and it starts getting cold, that house gets a whole lot colder. Oh, which would explain why they would be looking for cuff buddies. So hey, there it is. There's your why. There is your why. But I know other things I would like to have in a cuff buddy. Not only do they agree to go home at the end, like, can you cook? You don't have to cook all the time because I can burn myself, but can you at least cook a meal that is flavorful and tasteful? All right. Like, I ain't talking about just whipping something together, because I've had some people put some stuff together, and that's exactly what they did, put some stuff together. Then you got those people that put their feet into it, all 10 toes and heels and everything else. So, yeah. So I would like for you to be able to cook. I would like you to know that at the end of the season, this is it, and I still want you to go home, preferably not spend the night every night. We got things to do. So what other things do we need in a cuff buddy? You got to like them, right? You got to like them. You got to be able to talk, so you got to be able to hold the conversation, again, because you can't do it all the time. We're not going to even just talk about, intercourse or relations. We're not going to talk about relations because we all know that that's what we be wanting to do. We want to have relations with that person. So, we know that. We know sex is preeminent up top, number one, because, now some people aren't having sex. You see a lot of people, they just aren't having sex. They're waiting, they're second and third and fourth time virgins, fifth, sixth, 10th, 11th, 12th virgins over, 20. I get it. I mean, it doesn't matter what you did yesterday. If you want to start something new today, that's cool, But some people just aren't having sex, and they're just looking for that companionship, which is good. I got to talk about myself. When I first had my stroke, and hardly anything worked. Half my body didn't work. Literally, half my body didn't work, and it was a very humbling experience, learning how to walk again, learning how to do things, for yourself, and then your parts don't work the way they did before, your male reproductive parts, and it was, it's a hell of a thing, man. It is a hell of a thing. So, and I had my stroke in the fall at the end of the summer, like October 26th. Matter of fact, it's my 3-year anniversary just passed. Thank you, Lord. But yeah, so, sex can't always be a part of it, and you have to be able to enjoy the individual. You have to share some similarities or some things that you like, you have to be able to enjoy it, because otherwise the cuffing wouldn't work, right? All the other stuff wouldn't work. Now let's talk about rules though. Rules for cuffing. Like, we do not introduce your cuffing buddy to the family. No matter how big a Thanksgiving dinner you have or Christmas, the cuffing buddy is not allowed. Oh, the cuffing buddy is not allowed. Now, this rule gets broken often, and that's where problems start. That's where problems start. Oh, she took me to meet her family. Oh, he took me to meet his mama. Now, that's a cuff buddy violation, okay? That is a cuffing season violation when you start taking them to the house. You are not supposed to take the cuff buddy. The whole idea of the cuff buddy is this. You're cuffing for a season. If anybody heard that, people in your life for a season, a reason, a lifetime, well, cuffing buddy is the reason for the season. So when this season is done, don't even start the problem. So that is a pure violation. You cannot take the cuff buddy to family dinners. Okay, call the ex-husband, the ex-boyfriend, call the boyfriend to somebody else that or just go solo dolo, man. I mean, you don't have to really do all that, but. Okay, what are some more rules of cuffing? Oh yeah, if kids are involved, you cannot introduce the cuffing buddy to the kids. All right, if kids are involved, and now I don't know who has young kids at this age right now. My youngest is 18. All my girls are grown as women, so I don't care what they say. But if you're younger and you have young kids in the home, I would think it would be a violation, and a pure violation, to bring somebody into the kid's life that is not going to be there come springtime, because as soon as it gets warm, you out of there. Pshing. So that's rule number 2. Rule number 3, you cannot violate by introducing them to the kids. We are cuffing for a reason. Now, if sometimes cuffing season turns into a lifetime. Let's not discount that. You like somebody, you spend the season with them, but I'm just be honest with you. When you do the cuffing during this season, the whole holiday spirit and all that'll mess with you. That'll get you thinking stuff that, you really hadn't thought about, and it gets you to kind of feel in a certain kind of way, and then you get to think about the possibilities. And then you say, oh, what the hell? And then you go through it, and then reality sets in the next summer, and you be like, I got to get rid of this person. But, hey, there are times when cuffing does turn into something even longer, so we cannot discount that. I agree. So anyway, what are your rules, and what are you looking for? Or are you even looking to go into the season, cuffing with somebody? Some people are going to ride it out. Hell, I'm tired of this. I was thinking to myself, well, and that's planning on one of the, Thanksgiving, if I have to fix me a turkey sandwich and some potato chips, or whatever it is I fix, I'm going to be good with that. Christmas the same way. I can make my own ham. Sometimes you just don't want to be bothered. or you do want to be bothered, but you don't want everything else that comes with it. I can't think of anybody that would just rather be alone, because I don't want to be alone. But you don't want to start making false promises to yourself, and especially to someone else, when you know that you're cuffing for the season. So be careful when you're going out here meeting people online these days, and you let your guard down, and you feel and your feelings get caught in it. New rule: you cannot date anybody seriously until the springtime. That one. I'm just kidding. But anyway, yeah. So cuffing season is upon us. Do what you're gonna do. Have fun. The holidays are coming up. Be careful. Be careful with meeting new people. Be careful bringing people home. Be careful with, false pretenses. Just be honest, Just be honest, about what you want, and hopefully they're going to be honest about what they want. That thing works both ways, Talk about your intentions. Talk about what you want, It depends on where you are in life, or, what it is you're actually expecting. So, yeah. Sorry about that. But anyway, yeah, cuffing, cuffing season. Anyway, 704-759-6640. Let me know what your thoughts are about cuffing season, what your plans are, again. And I'll find a way to, maybe if you want to, if you want to put your voice on, I'll try to put your comments on there. I'm still learning this thing, y'all. Okay. I'm still learning this thing. But anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come right back, and we're going to wrap things up. This is The Forecast with your host, J.G. Lockhart. We'll be right back.
The rain against my window.
All right, we're back here at the Forecast with your host, J.G. Lockhart. Of course, I do not own the rights to Jimi Hendrix Watchtower, or who was that before we went to break? Aretha Franklin, or whoever that was. Yeah, that was Aretha. So anyway, we're back here at the Forecast. Going to get ready and wrap it up. But hey, have you seen how much AI is prevalent around us? I mean, I was talking with somebody today, and they said earlier today, and they said that they had an AI interview, and they became so frustrated that they just hung up. I said, "What do you mean you hung up? You had an AI interview on the phone?" It's like, no, it was on the computer. It's like, oh, okay, how did that work? So basically, you're talking to artificial intelligence on your laptop. You can see your picture, but their picture is basically just like you saw in the movies long time ago. It's a line that moves whenever it's the AI voice is talking. And I was like, really? I was like, man, that would probably creep me out. And he was like, yeah, it did. He's like, that's why I hung up. I was like, wow. So can you imagine that's where things are going? So if you're looking for employment and you have an AI interview scheduled, like, hey, you got to be ready for that. So, hey, that's something. That is, wow. That was crazy to me. I had never heard of that. So, I'm just crazy, just absolutely crazy. So anyway, we are getting ready to take it out. And listen, I know that we're talking about fear a lot. And a lot of the reasons it keeps us from doing good things is because we're afraid. And I just pray that you have some courage, going forward the rest of today. Just have courage today, because that's the only thing we're promised, So just have some courage in doing bold things the rest of this day. I mean, you got it until you close your eyes tonight. So, have some courage. Don't be afraid. And if you do get fearful, then talk to your higher power. Just talk to yourself. Just ask the power within. Ask your high. If you don't believe in God, then you know that there's a voice inside you that's always telling you the right things to do. So that's why I encourage you to reach into and ask for help in that moment, because that's what it is. We have moments where we're weak and we need help moving forward. So You know, it's a tough time that we're living in. A lot of people are making a lot of bad decisions, and you know, it seems like the good people aren't stepping up. You know, I talked to a pastor the other day, and they said that the world is getting worse and it's not going to change. I was like, what? That's a damn near assessment from a pastor. You know what I mean? But me, I'm an optimist. You know, why? So, look, we got to keep fighting the good fight. If you're a good person, I encourage you to keep fighting the good fight. And as long as you got breath in your body every day that you wake up, that is the blessing and that is the strength, and that's what you need in order to do everything else. It all starts with just being here. If you're here, you got a chance. If you're alive, you got a chance. Today, you have a chance. Tomorrow, you might not have that chance. So today, practice who you want to be. Do something with today so that if you get that blessing tomorrow, that's already done. Real simple way to put it. Clean up something so tomorrow you don't have to look at it and worry about it. Then you can go clean up something else or do something else. That's as easy as it is. And once you start clearing your mind of these things that need to be done, you'll be able to create more. You know, you'll be able to do more. That's practicing. You know, practicing doing this. The things that keep occupying your mind, practice them. You know, get them out the way, knock them down. All right, that's it. I enjoyed you. We'll talk to you next time. This is JG Lockhart with the Forecast. Follow us, like us, share us, do all that. Love you. We'll see you next time. The Forecast with JG Lockhart. West Side, you know. That's that Dub C rant, y'all. It's all about Dub C. You don't know about that? So, we out.